instead of pros and cons, when we talk Panthers, we're going to go cons and cons. And that doesn't mean we're being all negative. That doesn't mean we're just hey, this is bad and this is bad. It means we're going with confidence and concern.
Yes.
Con and con.
Let's do it.
Dennis and I are each going to give one. Dennis, you go first. And let's actually, when people ask you good news or bad news, what do you usually ask for?
Give me the bad news.
Okay, let's start with the concerns then. For cons and cons, let's start with the concerns. What are you concerned about as far as an aspect of the Panthers roster?
My concern with the Panthers is the guy we just heard in the highlight coming back, J.C. Horn, and his health. Because we saw in his rookie season go out early with the foot injury. That lingered for a while. Then even the start of training camp last year, they're kind of easing him back a little bit because of some soft tissue stuff. Now, played most of last season, but a freak play where his arm kind of got smashed up by Jeremy Chin on a tackle, broke his arm. But in this offseason, he had the foot/ankle injury that he was dealing with during OTAs and all that. His health is vital for this team. He and Dante Jackson coming back from his Achilles tear because they're so darn good. But after that, I got major question marks. Because we saw that last season in a game where they played Tampa. Had they won that game, they're inside track to win the division, and they didn't have Jackson nor Horn, and their corners got torched.
This is going to get awkward because your concern.
My concern is their health.
Tim's confidence. My confidence.
Okay.
Is their secondary. Now that groups in the safeties. So
yes, absolutely.
It's not just the corners. Groups in specifically Jeremy Chin and Von Bell. Because I love Von Bell as an addition. And I love Jeremy Chin's versatility. I love Von Bell's versatility. Von Bell is a safety who had, I think it was 4 interceptions last year. You go back a couple of years, he had 116 tackles. He's had at least 5 quarterback pressures in seemingly every year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you want to talk 3-level safeties? Rushing the quarterback when it's needed, stopping the run, and getting back in coverage. Chin and Bell are very, very good.
And you throw Xavier Woods coming back as a starter last year, which allows those guys to do more things.
And then on the outside, the 2 guys you mentioned, I'm just always, and maybe it's a flaw of my evaluation, I am a sucker for talent. I'm like a fan of talent. And the injury thing is always tough for me because they're young, they're unbelievable athletes.
Yeah.
And
they're great.
And I just feel like the better the athlete you are, the better you respond to injuries, right? It's the whole, as long as you get injured before 30 and as long as, you had this athletic score, then you're way more likely to come back and be 100% faster. And these 2 guys are just such good athletes. They're such natural, fluid movers that, anyone could get hurt. And you mentioned the freak nature of Horn's latest arm injury. Like, those don't scare me. If someone has like a hamstring injury and they're just popping it, every year and missing 5 weeks, that would scare me more than something like the arm. So I just look at those 4 guys and go, there's talent all over the place. And you throw in Woods, who's solid enough to let the talent be talent. I think their secondary is going to surprise some people. I'm very confident in it.
If they're all on the field together, I love it. But my concern is them just staying on the field together.
What's your confidence?
My confidence is the offensive line. The fact that you're bringing back all 5 starters. Look, I know Austin Corbett's coming off the ACL injury that he suffered in the final game of the season against the Saints.
But I will say this, just on that.
Yeah.
If you're going to have one part of your offensive line be a guard would be the spot, right? You want your tackles, you want your center. No disrespect to guards, but if you had to choose.
So you have all 5 of your starters coming back. You also had Cade Mays that they drafted last season, who was very highly recruited to Tennessee. A lot of people feel like he was actually a steal in the draft because they got him in the 6th round. He had a year to develop. They also bring their offensive line coach back. He was one of the few guys that was actually retained. So they bring him back. So the continuity on the offensive line is massive because it's important for Ike Ekwonu to continue to develop in year 2. It's important for Brady Christensen in year 3, second year starting at guard. And then also his development. Then Bradley Bozeman at center coming back. Taylor Moton solid on the right side. Corbett getting healthy. Cade Mays, also Chandler Zavala that you drafted as well. Plus Cam Irving as the swing backup tackle who has starter experience. The depth on the offensive line is solid. The fact that you bring back all your starters is great for Bryce Young because, all the skill guys for the most part are different. There's a lot of new pieces there, but the continuity on the offensive line, that gives me a ton of confidence because they got better as the season progressed.
And outside of Bozeman, they're relatively young and youthful and spry.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of the things I love for an offensive line, and I'm agreeing with you, it wasn't my confidence, obviously, but I'm agreeing with you, is one of the things I love for an offensive line is not just like experience where everybody's like a 9-year vet. I like snaps together, right?
Yes.
I like when they have a lot of reps where the guard and the tackle are next to each other and they're, right, that you just build up like a shorthand where you might see a look you haven't seen since last year, but you can just kind of communicate with each other and move together, right? It's the whole, an offensive line has to be the closed fists, not the individual fingers. So to be that youthful and have that many snaps together is fairly rare. So I like where they're at offensive line. And finally, my concern is their pass rush. Outside of Brian Burns, there's a lot of guys I like. Like, it's kind of similar to their wide receivers in that, like, if you were fourth as on the edge, like, you know, Yetur Gross-Matos, I'd like you as a fourth rusher. I don't like you as a second, right? Marquise Haynes, I like you as veteran depth. I'm not sure I like you as veteran, we're going to have to play you a ton and we need you on pass rushing downs. Amari Barno is an athletic freak. Love him as like a lottery ticket. I don't love if you have to depend on him in key situations.
Yeah. Second year, 6th-round pick out of Virginia Tech. Right?
Yes, and he's one of those guys who, like, I don't know, he ran like a 4.3 or 4.4, and that's barely an exaggeration if it is an exaggeration at all. And DJ Johnson is a nice third-round pick, but, you know, mid-round rookie. I don't know how much you want to depend on those guys.
Plus a mid-round rookie who's like, what, 24, 25, 26 years old? Like, he's older for his age.
Which is always interesting. So you probably have to depend on him early, but you, like, there's a lot of guys who I like as pieces, like if they were the depth, but then you look at the outside of Brian Burns, you're like, oh no, these guys are going to have to be out there on key third downs rushing the quarterback. And I don't love that, right? If you had like two guys between Burns and everybody else, I think I would like their pass rush. But when it's Burns straight to the everybody else, I'm concerned. Now, if Barno hits his ceiling and DJ Johnson hits his ceiling and Gross-Matos is doing a little bit of a position switch with the switching of the fronts, if that all works out, then they should also go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
It's up to like $1 billion.
It's over $1 billion.
Over $1 billion. So they should go buy that lottery ticket. If it doesn't work out, it could be a situation where, I was looking at the schedule. Weeks 4 through 6, they go Vikings, Lions, Dolphins, back to back to back. Those are teams that, like, just look at those receivers. If you give Justin Jefferson 4 seconds to get open, you're not guarding him. If you give St. Brown 4 seconds to get open, you're just not guarding him. And if you give, with the Dolphins, either Waddle or Hill 4 seconds, 5 seconds to get open, it's going to be a touchdown. So you're going to have to get after the quarterback or else those offenses will eat you alive. There you go. That's cons and cons.
Yes.
Confidence and concerns for the Panthers heading into this season now that the preseason has officially started.